Hey, and welcome back. If this is your first time watching one of these videos, my name is Charlene, and I'm the owner of the Mindfulness Journey. So, we're a mindfulness meditation company that combines mindfulness meditations, practices, and some mental health strategies to help you learn how to get out of your head and into your life. And we do this through learning how to meditate, through some of these practices, and to really, in particular, learning how to listen to the voice inside your head. You might call it the inner critic, your monkey mind, right? There's lots of different ways that we describe it, but it all kind of comes down to our thoughts. We want to pay attention to our thoughts because our thoughts are the only thing that we can really kind of work with. When I say work with, sometimes I talk about silencing your inner critic, silencing your thoughts, but really we're not silencing it because it's never going to fully shut up. We're learning how to work with it, to notice when these thoughts arise, what to do about them, and how to be with them. And that's achieved, so to speak. Achieving is probably not the right word, but happens through learning how to meditate. Because when we sit down, when we're still, when we meditate, we're being with our thoughts, which isn't always easy to do. Sometimes it doesn't feel very comfortable or fun, but there's a reason for it and it is very helpful. And I will speak more to it in this video, but throughout all of my videos about why we want to work with our thoughts. Today in particular, I'm going to speak to my mindfulness practice and how it helped me learn how to manage and to kind of beat my lifelong anxiety. So my anxiety was so prevalent, I didn't even realize I had anxiety, right? I've shared before, I was in a traumatic accident in 2013. I was hit by a bus, literally. I knew after that experience that I had anxiety, but even then, I didn't really realize how much anxiety I had before, like my whole entire life. I always knew I was shy, but to me, that didn't feel like anxiety, or I didn't realize it was anxiety because we don't know what we don't know. I started learning mindfulness to help with the anxiety after the accident, but it helps there were so many additional side effects and benefits from it that I didn't even realize I was going to have until, I got to the other side. So I learned mindfulness, I started meditating, I started practicing, and then all of a sudden I went from being somebody who couldn't talk to people to leading conferences, to traveling on my own, to going up to new people, to making like new friends. I have a whole another social like circle that I didn't have at the time. I only had a small group of friends, and like now I have so many more. As I said, I started being able to do things that I couldn't do before, and it showed me how much anxiety I'd been living with. Right, so like I needed to order pizza for my family. I struggled with picking up the phone to call and to place an order. I would write it out, rehearse it mentally a few times before calling it in. It was the same thing every time. Like, it wasn't complicated, but I would get so apprehensive and so nervous, right? I didn't realize that I was experiencing more of a little a anxiety, right? Like after the bus, that was the big A anxiety, but there's little a anxieties that show up all the time that I had never really paid too much attention to before paying attention to my thoughts with my mindfulness practice. So I realized, oh, that was anxiety. I had dolls and toys I didn't really play with much because, I didn't want to like dirty them, ruin them. I didn't want to waste this thing that I had. Like I was so protective of everything and didn't really take full advantage of some of the stuff I had as a kid and growing up because like I didn't want to wear it out, right? Like I had this Barbie And she came with like this like kind of rubbery skirt and a bottle of foam, and you were supposed to like spray the foam on the Barbie to make outfits, right? So on top of the clothes. I barely played with her because I didn't want to wear out the foam. What was the point of having it there if I never used it? It kind of reminds me of, and this is how I grew up, the idea of like, well, those are the good towels. That's the good room, right? We don't want to use that. That's for company. And then like, what company is good enough to use it, right? We used to joke with my mom about some of these things, like the good dishes, the good towels, the good room, that it was there for when the Pope came, because the Pope's never coming. Nobody else seemed to be able to use this stuff. So now in my own place, like I have the good dishes and I use them. I had friends over for my birthday a couple years ago and I served pizza on the fancy dishes because why not? But my little a anxiety before would have talked me out of doing it because, well, what if they get scratched? Or what if they get broken? Or what if, right? That's the lifelong anxiety. It showed up in everything, showed up in work, showed up in social relationships, showed up pretty, as I said, like in every area of my life. Oh, but what if? And oh, I don't want it. And like, oh no, right? All those thoughts. Mindfulness helps us to pay attention to them and we start to notice some of the thoughts that we have, notice the repeating thoughts, notice what situations they show up in, right? Which situations certain thoughts come up in, which thoughts are the ones that really kind of linger. How does it then affect my actions, right? Because our thoughts affect our emotions, which affect which show up in our body, but it all affects the things that we do to say, the things that we do, the things that we say, and how we react, right? Our behavior is impacted by our thoughts and our emotions. It's all connected. When we start to notice our thoughts, we notice which thoughts feed which emotions, because they're all connected. We learn how to work with them. And that is done through mindfulness. And I'm saying this because usually when I mention mindfulness, people think solely of meditating. And it's so much more than that. Right? They also often like, well, I can never meditate because I can't quiet my mind. That's why we meditate. And we're not trying to quiet your mind. We're trying to notice your thoughts through meditation, but it's as I said, it's so much more. It's about being in this moment, right? So when I'm anxious and worrying about what may or may not happen in the future, coming back to this moment, to being present, to being mindful, so helpful, right? Because the only moment I can do anything about is this one. I can't do anything about the future that hasn't even come yet, or the past, right? Ruminating and getting stuck in the past isn't helpful. Isn't helpful because there's nothing I can do about that either. This moment is the only one that I can do anything about. So every time you notice getting stuck in the future, getting stuck in the past, breathe and come to this moment. And through the videos that I'll share on this channel, I'll show you ways to do that. This is more of an introduction into how mindfulness helps with anxiety. It helps with, everything, because we're working with our thoughts. Oh, I'm having this thought about this. Like if you're like even just starting this channel and doing these videos, right? You have lots of thoughts about like, oh, who's going to want to listen to them? Who's going to want to watch them? And like, maybe now's not the best time to be filming them. I'm recovering from neurosurgery, my fifth. So valid thoughts to be like, well, maybe now's not the time, but when's it ever a good time to do anything, right? So noticing, oh, well, this is the thought that's coming up. So how can I work with it? Well, I can choose to listen to the voice and to not record these videos, to wait, but we're talking months. Or I can notice the thought and say, all right, so I'm a little nervous about this, but I can still choose to do it anyway. And obviously, that's what I did. So, as I said, this video was mostly just laying the groundwork for how mindfulness can help with things like anxiety, working with our thoughts, that inner critic, right? Monkey mind or overthinking state, all of that, laying the groundwork for how to do that. We will do practices together in different meditations and different videos. Those are all to come, but this one, as I said, this one was a bit more introductory. Because we've been talking a lot about our thoughts, we're going to do a short little practice. It's called the box practice. And it's very simple. You're going to breathe in for 5, hold for 5, out for 5, and hold for 5. Hence the box. We're going to do it together. We're going to breathe in for 5, hold for 5, out for 5, hold for 5. We're going to do it 2 more times. In, hold, out, and hold. In, hold, out, and hold. And this is one that you can do right whenever you're starting to notice, say you're getting nervous, your thoughts are starting to run away with themselves. You don't have to do this, but it's one way of reminding yourself, right, the box. And I can just breathe my way through it. We will be doing a lot of breathing together because breathing and being aware of our breath brings us into this moment, which, as I said, is the only one we can do anything about. I'm going to come to the breath, breathe, slow everything down so we can make a choice on how to proceed next. Hope that you like this video. Hit subscribe to my channel so you can get notifications when more of these videos are published, so you can check back in and you can learn more about how to work with your thoughts, how to get out of your head and to get into your life by using mindfulness meditation. And below this video, you'll find a link to sign up for my 7-day free challenge. It's 7 days of practices. They're 10 minutes or less, except for day 4 is 20 because that's a body scan and they're normally 45 minutes, but I cut it down to 20. But all the rest are 10 minutes or less, right? You'll get an email with each new practice, daily prompts, activities, strategies, tips. 7 days, $0. And as I said, the link to sign up for that will be in the description below this video. Until next time, bye guys.